Ever since the all-new Caves and Cliffs update was announced for Minecraft last week, the community has been filled with excitement. Since a cave update of some kind has been requested for a while, Mojang is definitely listening to what the people want. But as soon as these features were revealed, I started getting messages asking how this new update would affect the oldest Anarchy server in Minecraft, as well as other Anarchy servers. Even though 2b2t is still on version 1.12, Java performance may eventually improve, which would allow for the server to jump update, skipping multiple versions. Because this is still a possibility, I like to speculate on how these new updates would change 2b2t, and the Caves and Cliffs update is no different. There are definitely some changes that could turn the server upside down. Today I'll be covering every single new feature in the update to see how they will affect the meta of Anarchy servers, and also be giving my opinion on them. You might be surprised, as even some of the more useless features could have drastically different impacts in the Anarchy environment, especially when hacks are being used. At the very end, I will list the features that will have the biggest impact. We have a lot to cover today. Before we get started, I'd like to thank AFK Arena for sponsoring today's video. AFK is a light RPG, or the best RPG for busy you. Unlike the traditional RPGs, AFK Arena is a rewarding, non-grindy game that doesn't require enormous time investment. AFK is easy to get into. It can be played casually without too much effort, but also has strategic depth. Using hero unions, factional advantages, smart lineups, and unit combinations, gamers can implement a multitude of strategies while exploring their adventure. AFK's fresco art style is based off mural paintings from the Italian Renaissance, so the history buff in me greatly appreciates it. At the end of the day, AFK is a classic RPG experience. Upgrade, fight against demons, get epic equipment, collect heroes, and level them up. Download AFK Arena right now by going to the link in the description and see why it's the best RPG for busy you. I've also left a gift code there for you, so thanks again to AFK for sponsoring today's video. Now then, let's get started. I want to start out by saying that in vanilla, I think all of the new features are fantastic, but as I mentioned, I'll be discussing every part of the new update today from an Anarchy perspective. The first major change the update will bring is cave and world generation. Just like in the past on 2b2t, these new areas would mean a new round of violent chunk borders that would appear all over the server. The new mountaintops and other planned areas would cut into the already generated terrain. Now, unlike previous updates where these borders and errors were most noticeable on the surface, the new update would also have these borders underground, where they would become more obvious in the new massive cave systems. It will be a very cool sight to see. 2b2t is now almost 10 years old, and it's been through multiple types of world generation. Another round of these borders could spice up the server even more. The most prominent part of the new update, the Caves and Cliffs, would definitely have a major impact in this regard. And speaking of caves, we need to talk about the new stalagmites and stalactites. If you have a hard time remembering the difference between the two, the way I like to remember them is by the letter M and the letter T. Stalagmites often form the letter M on the cave floor, while stalactites form a letter T on the ceiling. Stalagmite, stalactite. Okay, geology lesson aside, these new blocks would look cool on 2b2t. If they can be removed with silk touch and can grow, I can see them being hung from the obsidian sky at spawn, similar to how vines would often grow towards the ground in the old days. Having these on the floor could make for some very interesting traps, but overall, while they're very cool looking, I don't see them having a big impact on Anarchy servers other than looks. But something that will have a big impact: bundles. Bundles are a new feature that will allow you to store items more easily, almost like a backpack. Previously, in order to have more storage, you would have to find shulkers on your own by either going very far distances in the end, or by getting lucky and finding someone's stash. Bundles are sort of an early game shulker, and while they aren't as good as them, they would be an excellent replacement for them until a player could get their hands on some boxes. One other interesting thing about bundles is that they allow for better storage of non-stackable items. The biggest application I can see for this is easier storage of totems, armor, and ender pearls, since they often can take up entire shulkers on their own. The extra space in our e-chests would be huge for people like me that prefer the nomad style of play. I put this feature up there as one of the more useful ones for 2b2t. AXOLOTLS are a new underwater mob that can actually help players fight other sea creatures. They are one of the first mobs that have the ability to heal players. These could be interesting to bring with you on your travels. If the spawn ocean is still around by the time the update would hit 2b2t, they might be able to help you if you're fighting another player. Imagine someone duping an entire shulker of axolotl buckets and bringing them to spawn. It would basically be a small army. While I see these new creatures as a fun addition, I don't see them being that useful on Anarchy servers and would basically be a novelty. Goats are the next mob being added. I don't see them being useful at all. They might be used in mob farms or for even getting yourself launched into the air for an elytra glide, but other than that, I don't see them having an impact on Anarchy servers, which is not a bad thing. Not every feature in Minecraft needs to be useful, but the next feature absolutely will be, for both good and bad. The fact that wireless redstone is now a possibility means that many new varieties of contraptions can be created. This is an amazing addition to vanilla, but I do have some concerns about it being used on 2b2t. While your typical Minecraft player may think about automated farms, elevators, and other redstone machines using the new mechanics, what I'm worried about is how they may be used for things such as lag machines and exploits such as bedrock removal or even duplication glitches. We really don't know what may be possible using them, so I guess we'll have to wait and see, but wireless redstone will definitely have a major impact on Anarchy servers, but having access to it will require facing our next feature and one of my personal favorites, the Wardens. Wardens are a new overworld mob that spawn in the deepest, darkest caves. They are completely blind but can hear a player's movements. They are incredibly strong, being potentially the deadliest mob in the overworld. Now, if a player is using a kill aura hack, these mobs should be simple to take down, but if there are multiple Wardens, or the server hits a lag spike, there's a good chance they could pop several totems or even kill you. Considering in the demo the Warden does 6 hearts of damage through netherite armor, it's going to be deadly. I also noticed that the creature is capable of reducing the actual light levels, which is something I've never seen a mob do. Since most hack clients have the full bright feature, the darkness can likely be circumvented. These new Wardens may be one of the few mobs to actually be a challenge on Anarchy servers, even to players using hacks. I see them having a major impact. Archaeology is actually a collection of new features that are meant to give Minecraft worlds a greater sense of immersion. Players can use brushes to look through old blocks to find artifacts, and can then put those artifacts onto clay pots and fire them up. While it's a cool vanilla feature, on 2b2t I only see this being used as a way to gather quick resources or for builders to create pottery for their builds. To a typical Anarchy player, this likely won't be used very much, but as we learn more about archaeology, its usefulness may change. Crystals are a new block that will generate inside geodes found underground. They make a cool, almost wind chime sound when you get close. The only problem is that they cannot be silk touched, so placing them around builds won't be possible, except maybe if you move them with pistons. But crystals will be used to craft another brand new item, the telescope. In vanilla, I can see this being a fun item, but on Anarchy servers, it'll be completely useless since many clients already have a zoom feature. However, the telescope is the first item on this list today to have what I call meme potential. And what I mean by that is chances are that when you are using the telescope, your character will likely be put into some sort of viewing animation. This could be used in hilarious ways on the server to create funny moments, such as having your basemate stare at a funny map art, or even using the zoom to focus on something ridiculous. So from a practical standpoint, it's useless, but I can see it being used in many humorous ways. Now, I can't believe I've made it this far into the video without discussing the brand new ore, copper. Copper as an ore can be used to create copper blocks, which will actually start to oxidize and turn green after a while. For vanilla, this is a neat feature, but on 2B2T, considering that almost everything is old, I don't see people caring about this much. But one part of copper that will be useful is to create lightning rods. Lightning itself has been re-enabled on 2B for quite some time now. In the past, many builders have been forced to cover their creations with glass ceilings at build limit to prevent lightning strikes from burning down their builds. The lightning rod would completely remove this annoying task, and also make obtaining mob heads from charged creepers far easier. I'm also sure 2B2T players would find a way to use these in traps of some kind. Never underestimate the community's ingenuity. Glow squids are like normal squids, except they glow much like an enderman's eyes. Until we know more about this mob, I'm putting it in the useless category. The DRIPLEAF plant is a new plant that can actually be stepped on like a platform. Like many of the new blocks I mentioned earlier, while it looks cool, I don't see it changing Anarchy servers. Glowberries will be a new light source that can be grown, but since many Anarchy players use Fulbright, once again, I don't see it being useful. The SPORE blossom is a new flower that emits particles. Much like how fireworks are often used on Anarchy servers to cause FPS lag to even the strongest gaming PCs, I can see SPORE blossoms being used in great numbers to try and achieve the same thing. Last but not least, it's likely that this is the update that will contain the new combat changes to Minecraft that Jeb has been working on for some time now. But because these snapshots are still experimental and change on a monthly basis, there's no telling how they'll affect the Anarchy combat meta until they actually release. So out of all the features that we've covered today, the ones from the Caves and Cliffs update that will likely change 2B2T and Anarchy servers the most would be World Generation, Bundles, Wireless Redstone, Wardens, and the new combat changes. Everything else, while great additions to vanilla, probably won't be a huge deal in Anarchy. Will this update ever come to 2B2T? Because jump updating is still a possibility, I'd say the only thing that's for sure is nothing's for sure. But hey, don't forget the majority of my viewers aren't actually subscribed to the channel. If you hit that button, I'd think you're pretty awesome. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like. But that's it for today, everyone. Take it easy, and remember to stay alive out there, Fit Fam.